We've had occasion to put under observation recently, in a way that is not in any way unfortunate or illicit, the apparatus at work in various Western orthodoxies concerning military force in foreign policy. And we've heard some answer from the former Cold War antagonist circles, which add up to a good deal of confusion about what's happening on the part of a layman besieged by a number of different directions and changes in the environment of ecology that we live in and social ecology, political ecology that we live in. Those multi-frameworks at work. And one of the frameworks that's at work is the idea of a former unipolar world where there was one statecraft apparatus which was bigger than everybody else, which was going to prove itself superior to everybody else, the winning side in the first Cold War, the United States NATO system. And a great deal has come unhinged about the encirclement of Russia. We've seen the trespass of Israel go sour. And one of the things I have done proactively in an attempt to reconcile some of these issues intellectually with the predominant forces coming from the new multipolar framework, which scare stories, multipolar phobia, so to speak, envisions as a switcheroo for a different direction of unipolar back at us, the so-called civilized West. One of these actions I've taken has been to request the assistance of Seattle public librarians in locating 4 or 5 different vignettes from historical writing, journalism, or even historical fiction of people lamenting that their ordinary lives have been disrupted by big events. I have a book here that's likely to provide something like that. It's by Pierre von Passen. Number Our Days. If you know of any vignettes, I'm looking for 4 or 5 of them. Please don't hesitate to drop me a note. Von Passen was caught up in the civil disturbances preceding, during, and after World War II. We know that there are people who are suffering from climate change in Africa whose lives have been upended. Gaza clearly springs to mind. You have a situation where we had COVID and then Ukraine came and put that into a side stage, and then Gaza came along and put the Ukraine into a side stage. And what concerns me about this conveyor belt of upendings isn't so much that there's a unipolar shell game going on, although there clearly is a leapfrog apparatus. The way that the oligarchs and the billionaire classes work behind the scenes has been around a long time. It's gone by certain names like merchants of death, military industrial complex, and so on. Leapfrog oligarchs. It's not so much that there's a switcheroo from unipolar, submarines turning around the envisioning material and coming back at us, although there's an element of that at work in the script I found from the Gweiner apparatus, David Jeffrin's Zionism. It's the idea that the multipolar world has multipolar tactics. And what we might be seeing, like this conveyor belt of sidelining things one after another, is a new way of processing um, manias. Because what we clearly need is to structure our societies for a give and take in real ecology and humane economics. Real ecology and humane economics can turn to bounty. People have demonstrated from the ecological movements that some ecological mangroves, for example, can tip back from the breaking point. And that's what we need to do. But there's a system of psychotics in place who are grinding an axe and making scare stories about each other. We have North Korea phobia, we have Islamophobia, we have Russia phobia. And don't get me wrong, I agree with a good deal that I've read in synopsis, in summary, by Russia's intellectual circuits. I think that multipolar societies have a better chance of survival because we respect one another and understand each other. But when multipolar societies that predominate have it in for minorities, whether they're Jewish, gays, then America does take a stand because we're protective of human dignity. If I myself were a gay person, I would be gay openly and without shame. I'm not, and I'm not ashamed of that either. I have been attacked by an undercurrent processing an idea of equity that involves eliminating classes while promoting symbols of the classes. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous how openly the Green Party attacked my father's intellectual heritage, my father, and entrapped me in a brutal gang representation that was full of deceit, that was adopted by Jeffrin Records and promoted by Jeffrin Records, and in fact seems to have originated with Jeffrin. And this was, of course, the Green Party's Two Virgins Pussy book clocked to the AIDS attack. And that's what I mean when AIDS gets pushed aside by COVID, COVID gets pushed aside by Ukraine, Ukraine gets pushed aside by Gaza, and you have this leapfrog structure pulling a switcheroo of unipolar ideas. It's a um, alliance within dissenting societies, the differing societies. They're told not to like each other so that they blind themselves to what the others are saying. And when there's that kind of blindfold over a person's political vocabulary and linguistic sensibilities, you can operate on a hidden apparatus within that framework. And this is the idea of a multipolar society taking multipolar tactics that are crucial to getting people to accept when their ordinary lives are dislocated by big events that are in the control of this leapfrog oligarch apparatus. So what I asked the librarians of Seattle Public Library to do for me or to help me do, I'm not going to stop looking on my own. As I demonstrated, I'm going to be leafing through this if I can find a good vignette and get a hold of 4 or 5 different representations from different societies that say basically the idea everything was going so well, but then this huge dislocation took place so that I can show that the stresses between the human condition and the dreams of power have critical measuring um, institutions like the International Court of Justice that should be sufficiently functioning that everybody understands their reason to exist is to enhance the educational potential of our world society's future prosperity without having to engage in genocide and depopulation and so on. I don't understand why the masses are regarded as evidence of sin rather than an opportunity to educate and change things for the better. We should be food dropping to Gaza, making sure everybody has enough water and medicine to continue to move towards a more decent civilization as the world becomes multipolar. And maybe some improvement on these ideas will be forthcoming with the help of peer review.